Hello, good morning to you, Lagos, and every other part of the country and the larger world. We're back here doing our COVID-19 Heroes. We promised we would be back. It's time to fulfill that promise. It's like 27, going on 28 minutes to the hour. We'll make do with it and make sure the show is great for you. This week, we're talking about women and supporting them through the pandemic. We got a great hero in the house. You cannot wait to hear her. Let me say welcome first to my brother and co-anchor, Dr. Wiebe Boer. I wanted to announce you like you're some wrestler working into the ring. How are you doing today?
Well, I shaved my beard, so I don't look like a wrestler anymore. But I like the way you brought me in. Yeah, good morning, Femi. How are you doing?
I'm good. And how are you?
All right, good. I'm all right. So should I jump in?
Jump. I can't wait. I can't wait.
All right, I'm very excited to announce our guest for today. She's the chair of WIMBIZ, which is a phenomenal a network of women business leaders in Nigeria, and she'll tell us more about that. Her name is Ngover Ihyembe-Nwakwo.
Wiebe. Good. I should say Unde Nana.
Okay, that's all I know. It's the only team word I know. So Femi, we're neighbors. I'm from Taraba. She's from Benue. So we have a little thing here.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I am really, really well, and thank you very much for having me on the show.
Tell me he got your first name correctly first before we go on.
He actually did. As he said, he's a brother. It's not often we meet our middle belt brothers, so it's good.
So
he actually did.
So Ngover, Femi is always accusing me of not being able to pronounce names properly, and I said when someone from northern Nigeria comes, I'll get it, and he'll get it wrong. So today is my turn.
Because my instinct would be to do Ngover if she wasn't so popular.
All right. So listen, let's just jump in. So if you can give us a little bit about your own personal background, and then what your role as chair of WIMBIZ. What does that mean?
Okay, so my background, I'm Nigerian, so it's good to establish that. People always wonder with the name. My academic background actually is in economics, philosophy, and politics, and I've worked in financial services for about 20 years now. My day job, as I like to say, is I work with Rand Merchant Bank as the head of coverage. And then my night job is to be a passionate advocate for women. I joined WIMBIZ as an associate about 10 years ago. Before that, I've gone to a number of programs. And I got on to the Executive Council about 5 years ago, and then I became the chair in November last year. WIMBIZ, for people who don't know us, is an amazing organization of women, and we're really about advocating for more women in leadership positions.
All right, you just mentioned it, took my question off my mouth, but you're going to elaborate. So WIMBIZ in full is Women in Management, Business and Public Service. So briefly, tell us about...
It's written down. He had it written down, by the
way. Well done.
Tell us a brief history of WIMBIZ, the setting up of this organization, and what precisely you do for women in Nigeria.
Okay, so WIMBIZ was set up 19 years ago, and interestingly, it was set up by 13 women and one man. And it was actually the man who had the idea, and he's still with us till today as one of our board of trustees. And what we do is we inspire, we empower, and the idea really is to build capacity. So to build capacity for women to achieve what we feel is what they feel is their highest potential. And then more important, to advocate for women to be given the opportunity to do that. So we have various pillars. We do a lot for women entrepreneurs through our WINCAP program, where we provide training on running your business and being successful. We have mentorship programs as well, where we mentor people through either private or public sector businesses or roles that they're working on. And then we also have a WIMB board program where we've got a database of board-ready women for companies that are looking for women to sit on boards. We also have trainings for women to develop the skills they need to be effective members of boards when they get on the board. And then we've got a lot of political advocacy as well, where we're really advocating for more representation of women. So that's broadly what we do.
That just that you say broadly, but that's a lot. That's a lot. And Femi, if they have a big annual event, and if you've ever been to that, it's amazing. It's powerful.
I'm missing.
Yeah. So
I see snippets. I see snippets of
Femi
it
next year.
Yeah, but I got to be there the very next time. Man.
You have to.
Yeah.
This year is going to be virtual, so we will certainly be inviting you, and we would love to see you.
Okay.
Love to host.
Looking forward to it.
All right. So in addition to your role as chair of WIMBIZ, you're also chairing the committee on, basically WIMBIZ COVID-19 Relief Project. So what was the idea behind the project? And why did you, as your chair of WIMBIZ, you could have said, oh yeah, someone else, go ahead and take this one. But you took it on for yourself. How come?
So it was really interesting how we sort of thought through the idea. It was just as the pandemic hit Nigeria, and it was sort of at the period when the lockdown had been announced. And it was clear that we needed to support the lockdown efforts because they wanted to flatten the curve. But then we then found that a lot of people, particularly in our immediate environments, was really struggling for food and sustenance. And so the idea was, if we can't give them enough that they can stay at home comfortably, then how really can we expect them, not to go out and not to socialize? So the original plan was, we have our secretariat in Obalende. So we thought in the Ije community, which is sort of the next, the most vulnerable community around that area, we would do a small outreach relief project just to give them some sustenance, to keep them sort of at home. And that was the plan. And the plan was we would self-fund it, and then we would just run with it. And obviously, it didn't quite work according to plan. We ended up expanding to 31 communities across 4 states, and impacting people, a number of people, and giving out from our original 500 target. We ended up at close to 12,000 number of packs that we gave out.
Interesting. A whole lot of beneficiaries. The question I'd like to ask is, how did WIMBIZ actually identify the women and these communities? This 31 communities that to which you distributed this nearly 13,000 relief packs. Was there a process you guys employed?
Yes. So the first thing for us, being that we are primarily based in Lagos, our secretariat is based in Lagos, our initial target area was Lagos. And so we looked at sort of the map of Lagos and its local government areas, and we started from there. We then tried to get information from the CDAs in each of the local government areas that we had determined were most vulnerable. And then from those conversations, we started getting an idea of, who are your most vulnerable. We were really targeting women because that's really what we stand for. But we also wanted the most vulnerable. So we looked at the elderly, we looked at the handicapped, and then we started creating lists. And then with the support of the community leaders in the communities, we agreed sort of dates for distribution, and we distributed. And then as we consolidated on Lagos, we felt it was important because we have associates across Nigeria, but we have established associate networks in the Port Harcourt region, in Bonny, and in Abuja as well. So we really felt, and in Ibadan, in Oyo State. So we got them on board as well, and then they did the same sort of background work in their locations. And then we identified beneficiaries, put the packs together, and went out.
And so and when you talk, so basically over 12,000 packs were delivered. And so what was in a pack? And then what have you seen as the impact of this? Like, what are some of the stories you've heard from the women who benefited?
So in terms of what the packs contain, we tried to make it a mix of personal care items because there's a strong hygiene element to the messaging, and then also to have food, enough food that they could stay home. So we tried to do a lot of dry food. We had gari, we had rice, we had beans, And then we had seasoning, salt, seasoning cubes. And then we also, in Lagos, we had a great sponsor who gave us some smoked fish. So we had some protein as well in that pack. And then from some of our partners, we even had drinks. And the idea was really around giving people something that would allow them not to have to go out to seek a daily living for a period of time and give them some succor. In terms of the story, so I personally went out to 3 distributions, and we had associates volunteer to go out to all. So we had WIMBIZ people on the ground, providing support to distributors and actually distributing. And, the first story was gratitude. So people just saying, thank you for remembering us and thank you for coming. And the second was just how we're just so connected. So, the world had, prior to now, we've all sort of thought we're moving on our own trajectory, and you don't always think of the next person. But really just seeing that humanity and people really in desperate need of food. And even just the fact that people reached out to them. So even people came out and even helped, even though they were not getting things themselves. It was just the idea that we can do a lot more to support people who are in trouble. It was really, really quite fulfilling and sad at the same time. Quite sad.
So let's talk funding. You already said a sponsor gave you smoked fish, reminiscent of the biblical 5 loaves and 2 fishes, or something like that. But the smoked fish won't solve all the problems. So where did you get the money? Was it just a WIMBIZ funding thing? Did you get some other partners that put up some money?
So WIMBIZ itself has a network of, we have trustees, we've got executive council that I sit on as a chair, we've got a secretariat, we've got our associates. So our initial request was really going out to ourselves to raise funding within ourselves. And that's how we started the project. And then they amplified the voice and the noise, and then we got more people involved. So at the end of the day, we were able to, so we raised close to 50 million naira in cash for the project. And then we had about 500, cash donors, and we got everything from 2,000, upwards. And then we had 18 in-kind donors as well. So corporations who didn't have money but were willing to support us with either personal care items or some of the food items that we distributed.
So, and is this ongoing, or it was basically like a one-time pack delivery to each household?
So it was a one-time pack delivery to each household, which we did over a 7 to 8 week period, because we didn't, obviously, with 31 communities, the approach to go and give it out. And it was actually, it was a one-off to the extent that at the time it was really the big need. How do we get people to stay home and make sure that the sit-at-home order is properly implemented?
Okay. And then how supportive was the government with this? I mean, did you get local governments involved towards identifying communities? And then even beyond that, is there sort of a broader engagement with government on the whole COVID issue, recognizing the need for special support for women and that kind of thing?
Yes. So in the actual distribution, we got lots of help from the CDAs, and some of the local government chairmen were really, really supportive and came out to help us. Some of the distributions actually happened in the local government secretariat locations because they were sort of safe and secure areas for us. And what we've then done since then is, in partnership with a number of other organizations, we sort of amplified the pressure around creating sustainable frameworks to support SMEs, support women, and really just help the vulnerable sectors of our nation.
All right, you're supporting, but I want to look at a national COVID-19 intervention, especially at this time. Every available data shows that SMEs have suffered tremendously, and in a system where women-run SMEs are usually said to be a little less funded than most. Do you have a national response towards women SMEs?
Yes. So, one of the things I said that we do is we really do try to build capacity. So what we've done in addition to doing the packs is we've also done a number of webinars on helping women just cope with what is happening, also helping them to sort of build resilience in their businesses. We partnered with the Bank of Industry. We had a webinar just on how you access funding for the business and what opportunities are available to you to bridge whatever gaps, your funding gaps you have in your business. And since really the lockdown happened, we've had about 5, I think, various sessions. Now, in addition to that, like I said, we've also joined broader conversations around what should we be doing to support SMEs. What we find is a lot of the women run, they're at the micro end of the SME conversation. And it's that micro end that is more easily affected because when you have a shock, you haven't built the resilience or the resources or the savings. So it's really about us, one, teaching them how to do better, but also helping them. We're also looking at a broader research paper on how to build sustainability in our supply chains. So even big businesses, how do you make sure that in your supply chain you're inserting some micro and SME type businesses so that they're benefiting as well from being suppliers to a big business as opposed to keeping it all flowing within a particular area. So there's a lot of work to be done, and we're doing some on our own, and we're doing some in collaboration with either the para-government, parastatals, and also with like-minded NGOs like ourselves.
So just a little bit more on that. You talked about some of the webinars, and you also mentioned, the importance of focusing on the micro enterprises. So have you been able to reach that level of women entrepreneur at that micro level? I mean, do they join Zoom calls? Do they get on seminars? How does that work?
No. And to be honest, that's something, as WIMBIZ, we are really quite sort of focused in the area that we operate, and we're really operating in the SME space. So what we've done is, so our webinars are open to everybody, but in terms of people who sign up, and they've been quite popular, we've had some as many as 1,000 people on. Find that there is a particular strata of women who are better able to access it. So the call for us is to encourage the SMEs that are part of WIMBIZ to then impact the micro, so that there's a chain, there's a big chain reaction from the smallest to the biggest. And then on a national level, we're working with other organizations to say, how else can we impact the micros? Because we know you have the resources to, but we would like to help in either building capacity or providing knowledge or even access. And then how can we work together to push the government to implement whatever policies we think work better?
Okay.
All right. Now, this will be my last question. Perhaps maybe I should push 2 questions in one. First, I'd like to know the WIMBIZ COVID-19 Relief Project. What is next? Where you go from here? And whether indeed it would evolve into a regular initiative from WIMBIZ beyond COVID-19. But there's also this other question that I'd wanted to ask about, and you've touched about it, whether the changes you've seen that COVID-19 brought upon us, whether you think it's going to be with us for a long, long time. Is this the new normal?
And then I'll take the last question first, because I think I can answer that a bit shorter. I think nobody knows. And what is clear, though, is that it's been a catastrophic event for us. It's a once-in-a-century event. And so I don't expect that we will snap out of it as quickly as we got into it. So we will see some lasting effects. And as a result, we as WIMBIZ, for example, we're working pretty much completely remotely. We have a secretariat team and they're all working sort of from home. We've moved all of our programs online. In fact, everything has moved online. But it's also been an opportunity for us to reach a wider network of women. So we are looking at sort of the pluses. We're also collaborating better because there's a wider reach. So for people, I say it's going to be with us for a while, but there are sort of little glimmers of hope and opportunities that you can use to scale your business or do things differently. And that's what we preach. In terms of the COVID Relief Project, it came up because there was an urgent need, and we huddled together and we did this. Now, having done it, we sort of had to reflect on what we had seen, and it was pretty clear that there is a big need for help. And so, I like the analogy you used earlier with the fishes and the loaves. And so we're sort of at the point where we're saying, do we continue to give fishes, or do we give the right tools and influence to help people fish better? And so what we're now doing is really looking at the programs we're running, particularly with the WINCAP and with the entrepreneurs, to build resilience and capacity. In addition to that, we're focusing a lot on the Sustainable Development Goals, the 5, 10, and 17. 5 is gender inequality, gender equality. 10 is reducing inequalities. And then the 17 is partnerships. So it's really then around how do we create a more longer lasting support system. And that's where my conversation around the research that we're currently undertaking, and we will put out a research paper before the end of the year. And it's really about, can we make value chains more gender sensitive and make sure that we're pulling people into value chains, as opposed to, what's typically happened is you've got big corporates and then they have a value chain where they have other smaller corporates within it. The idea now is, without increasing complexity, is there a way that we can make sure that, at the real bottom of the chain, you're getting people into that value chain? So there's an output or outlet for their goods or their services, and we can create shared prosperity.
All right. So, Femi, do I have time for one more question?
Yeah, one half question.
What? Okay, good. Okay. So, Ngover, let me just jump on this. So I know you mentioned at the beginning that your annual event is going to be virtual this year, which I guess, as you said, the silver lining means a lot more people can join from all over Nigeria, all over the world, actually. So maybe just, jump into that. When is that going to be? And what is it going to look like? Just so that people out there are aware. And so Femi can put it on his calendar.
Thank you very much. So our annual conference is going to be virtual. Typically, we've held it over a 2-day physical conference at the Echo Hotel. This year is going to be a 1-day conference, and we will pack in everything that we normally would pack in. Typically, we have plenary sessions, we've got breakouts, we've got debates. This session, we're really talking about sort of a post-COVID recalibration. So it's really about, we need to move forward. We need to recalibrate. We need to rethink the way that we view the world and the way we view our country. We will have 2 plenary sessions that talk to leadership and then speak to innovation, and really around disruption. How do you use innovation to disrupt? Yes, something catastrophic has happened, but is there an opportunity within that? We'll still have our debate. We'll still have our keynote speaker. It is scheduled for the first Friday in November, which I believe is the 6th of November, and we will start the marketing for that. Please visit our website, WIMBIZ.org for more information. But we really hope that this year's conference will really focus around people taking a stand and being more, decisive and more deliberate about the things that we can do to change ourselves, our surroundings, and the nation as a whole.
Ngover Ihyembe-Nwakwo, chairperson, Executive Council, WIMBIZ. You have been a hero, and you will continue to remain so. Thank you very much for all you do and for all we anticipate that you will do going forward. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Femi, and thank you, Wiebe.
That's the show. Wiebe, take us home.
All right. Well, we're done. I think the closing words from Ngover were the best. About looking forward and thinking about how we can make the most of this for the future. So I think let's leave it at that, and look forward to joining you next week when we can talk about Arsenal winning the FA Cup as well. So
have a wonderful week, everyone. See you.
9.3 Nigeria Info. We'll be right back.